Welcome to Real Talk, Real Women. My name is Miriam Khalladi, and today we have two-time Olympic gold medalist women's 8, world champion, both in the women's pair and the 8, and CrossFitter and Cafaro on the show. Erin, I'm super excited as this is the first time I have an Olympic gold medalist on the show. Thank you so much for participating and welcome. How are you?
This shouldn't be the first time you have an Olympic gold medalist. Now they're all going to want to be on the show.
Great.
We'll get you going.
Thank you so much. You've been rowing for more than a decade now. What initially got you interested in rowing?
Let's see. I started rowing actually in college. So all throughout high school, I pretty much played every sport up until high school, and I always was competitive, and I knew I wanted to continue to play something in college just because it felt like it balanced my academic life out. And so I was kind of searching around for something, and there's actually a newspaper article that my dad set out when my senior year in college about Title IX and how there's opportunities for women in rowing in college now. And there's a local girl who was lived in the next town over, and she was started rowing in college and was now on track to try out for the 2004 Olympic team, and it was just like a fairy tale story. And I was like, well, this girl can do it, I can do it. That was the competitive side of me, seeing that if a girl from had never picked up rowing before could do it at the college level, and then at the world level, then I could do it too. So I went got into Cal Berkeley, and then there I walked onto the team, and just basically started this rowing thing, and it turned out to be a pretty good fit. Basically, what I liked about it was the work you put in was it was like a 1-to-1 ratio. If you worked harder, you did better. And you can't say that about a lot of sports. There's sometimes where it's the skill, or sometimes talent beats out hard work. But this sport, there's no cheap or easy way around it. The harder you work, the better you get. So that's what I liked, and I kind of stuck with it.
Wow, amazing. When did you decide to go from competing in the Olympics and how does that work?
So in the U.S., the way we do it, there's well, I was kind of on the start of the big upswing in women's rowing for Title IX. I think that's when it just started to catch on and become a popular sport in college. And now, you know, internationally, U.S. rowing is definitely reaping the rewards of that. In college, you row in mostly big boats in the women's 8, which is a sweeping event. There's different disciplines within rowing, but the boat that I competed in the Olympics is the boat that most people compete in college as well. So we're pretty. It's gotten very competitive. There's a lot of girls that decide to actually row instead of play basketball or whatnot, just because there's more opportunity to make it to the next level. And I think actually how you get on the team is you do well. If you win, and you kind of you bring attention to yourself, and that's how I did it. It wasn't my physique. I'm actually quite a bit smaller than the typical rower, but you just it's kind of hard to ignore somebody when they make when you come in across the line first over and over again. So
Amazing. And you and your teammates were the first to bring home a gold in the women's 8 for the full 2000-meter race when you competed in Beijing, right? What was it like?
let's see, gold medal in Beijing. I mean, I was still fairly new to the sport. I had only been rowing for about 5 years at that point, 4 or 5 years, and it was surreal, which is a common response I hear from a lot of other Olympians with their first medal. But it really is. It's and it's almost, you kind of have to convince yourself at the time that all your years of hard work don't boil down to one moment. And so then when you finally are there, you're like, oh yeah, of course it was. This is no big deal. But then it finally settles in, I think, afterwards. Once you go back home and you can share the experience with others, I think that's when it really settles in, and then you get to do great things and be able to inspire others. I think that's when it really settles in, not right when you cross the line.
And in the recent London 2012 Olympic Games, you brought home gold once again. How was that victory different from your first Olympic medal?
Um, let's see, the one in London was definitely different. But it's kind of, I like to compare it to children. You don't really have a favorite. It's, you can't decide which one is your favorite. It's just such a different experience. But I was definitely more seasoned, and I knew I had more. I guess I want to say more detailed goals of what I wanted to achieve this time, rather than just I want to win. It was I want to be the best and fastest athlete I can be. And I throughout those whole 4 years, there was ups and downs with injuries and things going wrong, and so I kind of made sure to think that not to take it for granted. And by the time I crossed that finish line, I was satisfied in that I really think that I was the fastest and best athlete I have ever been. Because you never know what's going to happen. That's the life of an athlete, right? It could change in just 1 second. So I like that. I was a lot more on top of it, on top of myself, on top of my goals, and pushing myself to be the best I could be, rather than just going for just for the win. I wanted to be the best winner, I guess.
Wonderful. When competing, it's a team effort. Can you tell us about the team dynamics? How do you pick each other up, and how important is the support from your teammates?
I've come to appreciate this more and more as I have been away from the team for this past year. Um, During training, the way the U.S. women do it is we are based out of the same camp in Princeton, New Jersey, and we compete against each other every day in, day out. And at times, you think that it's affecting you. Oh, hold on, sorry. um, so at times you think that you're like, oh, this program isn't made specifically for me. I'm not doing the best I could do because, I'm working on somebody else's weakness. But in the end, having a team and having other people around you only raises the level of your competitiveness and your skill level. There's really no other way to be the best. I think you need to kind of get outside of yourself in order to get to the next level. And it's really hard. I mean, seeing, a lot of these CrossFit athletes who are training by themselves, I look at them and I'm just, I have a lot of respect for them. I think some of them can get to a really high level, pushing themselves just by themselves. But I think they underestimate the power of working with somebody, and being in a boat with somebody and doing it for somebody else, not just yourself.
During the Olympics, the whole world was watching. Your country depended on you. How do you cope with that kind of pressure?
Um, I actually like the pressure. And I guess that's when you know when you're ready, is when you feel so prepared that you aren't nervous. The pressure doesn't make you sick or nervous or that you don't want to be there. And I think everybody deals with pressure differently, but I by the time I'm there, at the Olympics or even every year at the World Championships, I was confident that I did everything I could do that year to prepare for that moment. And all I had to do was just show what I had, where I was in that training. I just, it wasn't about having the best race of my life. It was, where am I right now? I want a true indicator of my abilities. So that's kind of how I looked at performance. And so I don't know. I didn't feel pressure to perform for other people. I mean, I definitely wanted to, you know, do well for my country, but that goes alongside with the teammate type of thing where it's, I wasn't just trying to compete for myself. I had a whole team there with me that I wanted to bring along as well.
I found an article from a few years back where you say you can have a lot of things to think about that aren't going right, or maybe physically you aren't as gifted as the next girl. But that's no excuse. Rowing is a very mental sport, so just find your mental weakness and make it your strength. Do you feel that over the last few years you've gotten stronger mentally, and what do you do to train your mind?
Um, wow, I said that.
Yeah,
um, I would even edit myself and refine it further, that it's not just about mental strength, it's physical and emotional and spiritual strength too. I think that it's all combined, and it's you know it there are everybody has limitations, and that was kind of the coolest thing about going to the Olympics, is hearing everybody's struggles and how they got there. I mean, I didn't talk to one person who said, oh yeah, all I did was train and show up and I won. And no, like, everybody either had an injury, a family member had passed away. I mean, that there was, literally physical or mental or, emotional trauma. And it's how you bounce back from that. And it's, instead of looking at what you don't have, it's what you have. And so, yeah, I think that's really true. It's just finding the things that you aren't good at and making them better. Everybody's not good at some things, but it's who has the least weaknesses. It's not who has the best strengths. It's who has the least weaknesses that will win.
I agree. And I know you are also in CrossFit. In fact, you are a certified trainer. Tell us how you discovered CrossFit and how you've incorporated this training philosophy and techniques in your rowing program.
I found CrossFit. Let's see, in the fall of 2008. It was well, no, that was 2007. Sorry, the year before the 2008 Olympics, and being one of the less, how do I say that this politically correct? Being one of the more vertically challenged athletes on the team, I had to make up for a lot of their leverage power through just sheer power. And I needed to get stronger, plain and simply. And my brother, who, has been one of my closest mentors, he was looking for a strength and conditioning program for me and came across CrossFit. And this is when it was just coming out. And he found, he was living in San Francisco at the time, and he found a couple of really good coaches that he turned me over to. And, he also had helped me, but it was Kelly Starrett is the owner of San Francisco CrossFit, and he actually is one of the, I would like to say, founding fathers, of CrossFit. And thankfully, it was, a good coach, good fit. He's would turn me on to not only, I mean, himself, but he had so many connections of other people who taught me how to move well, taught me how to eat right, and just not even taught me, but just intrigued me to find out more information for myself. And so a lot of people, and I've got this from some of the CrossFit sites too, is where, they're like, oh, she wasn't CrossFitting. That's not how she won the medal. And I'm like, well, no, technically, I was not, I was doing the workouts once or twice a week because we already had a full-time training program and you don't want to mess with that. So I would only supplement with CrossFit. But I kind of look at CrossFit as, wanting to learn more, and not have any, attack your weaknesses. Like I said before, is, it's not just doing what you're good at. It's doing the things that you aren't good at, and having, wanting to have the knowledge of how to do things better. Whether it be training, whether it be nutrition, whether it be the mental game, all of that. It's just enticing the curiosity to do better and to, be stronger.
Amazing. And what has been the hardest obstacle that you have had to overcome in your career this far, and how did you do it?
The hardest obstacle. I don't know. There's been a lot of obstacles, but I think with all of them, whenever I was in the moment, I mean, I've gotten injured quite a few times. I guess those are always obstacles, and I'm no better than anybody else always at the time. When you're injured, you think the world is over, my chances are done. Um, you know, this is it. But you just have to surround yourself with good people. And thankfully, I had a really good, solid, network. And they basically would talk me off the cliff every single time. And just, it would take a little bit to regroup and get back to it. But it's the same thing as talking with Jenny Labat. I know you talked to her last week or not too long ago. And you have to look at these obstacles and these hardships and kind of find a reason and make the best out of them. With her obstacle, she inspired so many people to not put limits on themselves, So it's the same thing. It's kind of like the never say die attitude. It's not making excuses for why you can't achieve something. It's trying to find a way to still do it no matter what.
Right. And where do you find inspiration yourself? Are there any athletes out there that you look to for inspiration?
It's a very good question. I grew up, this is kind of funny, but I grew up going to San Francisco Giants games all the time when I was little. And those were the sports figures that I was most familiar with growing up. And so I never really thought of going to the Olympics when I was little. I always wanted, I wanted to go to the World Series, or I wanted to, but I always wanted to be the best at whatever I did. So whenever I think of sports figures that are inspirational, I always think of baseball players, because that's, what I knew growing up. So yeah, I did have a funny little superstitious thing that I did in the 2008 era, is I would add 22 seconds to something, or I would always have whatever my workout was end in two, because my favorite Giants baseball player growing up was Will Clark, and his number was 22. And, they always called him Will the Thrill, because he was a gamer. But I just, I had a childhood crush on him and everything, but it was just, that was my number. I wanted to be a gamer. So it was 22. That was the significance of that. But, this past time around it was actually 24. So, ending in fours, which if anybody's a San Francisco Giants fan, that's Willie Mays. So I wanted to be, I wanted to kind of be a legacy, and he was, arguably one of the best players in baseball. But just to find something that gives you a reason why, whether it be kind of silly, and usually it won't mean anything or be powerful to anybody else but you, but just to have something that's your own, I think was what kind of fueled me, whether it be a baseball player or a NASCAR driver, or, whoever it be. But I guess those were my inspirations.
You are on the top of your game, but what is next for you, and where do you see yourself in, say, 5 years' time?
That's kind of the question that everybody asks Olympic athletes. Oh, are you going to the next one? It's like, well, I didn't even know if I was going to this last one until a month before. So you don't really know where you are. You always are trying to make it, onto the team for that year. You are focused on doing the best you can do, that workout. And so by the time you go to competition, then that's when you feel prepared, because you focused and were in the moment. But as you do have to have some, foresight and future planning. At the time right now, I am trying to get my body healthy and strong again. And it happens when you specialize in any sport. Your body adapts to the unusual amount of volume and the repetition. And I, kind of went pretty hard these past few years, and still have some aches and pains and bad movement patterns that I'm trying to get rid of. I'm always striving to be a better athlete, I guess, no matter what it be. So right now I'm just trying to kind of iron out my bad movement patterns, and become just a better athlete. And what sport that may be, I'm not quite sure yet. I don't think I'm done competing. I am, still constantly searching for teammates. Like I said, I totally underestimated the power of that when I was, in Princeton, with the other girls. But it's hard. It's hard to just kind of work by yourself. But it's nothing's easy. So, or nothing's easy that's worth it.
That's right. Where can people go to learn more about you online?
Well, right now I have a pretty unupdated site at erincafaro.com. I think there's pictures from like 2009 on there. But I constantly am updating my Facebook fan page, and also I guess that's the Twitter handle, Erin at Erin Cafaro. Just kind of telling people where I'm at, my daily deep thoughts of the day. But those are the best ways to look for me right now. I'm also getting involved with a supplement company that I wouldn't even call it a supplement, but it's it's a performance company that is, it's a protein powder, and it helps basically just fuel athletes. It's the best product I've seen on the market to fuel real athletes who want to eat clean and are, nutrition conscious. And so that's kind of been my passion lately.
Erin, is there anything you feel we've missed that you would like to cover today?
Oh, the nutrition company. Probably I should tell you the name, rather than leaving you intrigued and on the edge. It's 3Fuel. So it's like the number 3, and then it's actually fu3l.com. Check it out. I think it's probably the most legit resource out there for nutrition, for fueling athletes, especially endurance athletes. So that's my passion, if you can't tell at the moment. But yeah, no, that's where I'm at this point in time, and we'll see where the next adventure is.
Thank you so much for being on the show. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks.
You're most welcome. And thank you so much for watching. My name is Miriam Khalladi, and I will see you on the next episode of Real Talk, Real Women.